next day. And in that period, I made, with Darryl Dell, a guy called Rooster and I made, in 65, we made a flat bottom, like a 𝗬𝒂𝗍𝒂𝐿𝐴 stand-up board, but we made a false deck over the tail. And like, we call it a B-tail, we called it, because it had a foam and glass body, but then the flat plane of George's flexible bottom plate was there, and the thing came down through a slot through it, so the thing could flex in the turns, then straighten out for trim. So finally, Rooster and I built this thing over a week and a half, so very complicated glassing. This is all at Hayden Kenny's factory. Put it in the water at Alexandra Heads, went to paddle it out with Rooster, and the weight that the glass added in the tail meant the thing sunk in the tail. You're trying to paddle the thing out and you go, what a waste. What a waste of time and energy building this thing, you know. And so once again, we were frustrated by the 𝗬𝒂𝗍𝒂𝐿𝐴 flex concept that we're trying to integrate into surfing. And we were slaves, but somehow we were going to achieve this flexible board. And that thing I told you about a couple of minutes ago about down at Spot X, well, that was like late 70s.
Yeah.
It took that long. We were slaving to get a flex tail board that worked.
But the whole time you're engaged with this idea that we want to surf our surfboards the way that 𝗬𝒂𝗍𝒂𝐿𝐴 is surfing his knee board.
They're different things, but I definitely believe the free surfer route is the easy route. It's the cheaper route, and it's the way you kind of turn from something you're not very good at and find a lane that you're good at, and you exploit that for a career. The hardest route is going to compete. Yeah. There's no question about that in my mind. And you have to deny, in some ways, you have to work and surf to a system. You have to work and surf in a way that might not even be you, but it's for points. And in the modern day, it's really easy. I've got to say that. In the modern day of heading towards the vault, you don't want 6. Like, as a free surfer, you and I are paddling out there and we're looking for the one that tapers and gives us 6. I don't want a closeout that gives me 2. There's no interest in a closeout that gives me 2. As a competitor, you don't want the one that tapers and gives you 6. You want the closeout and gives you 2. So they don't want more than 2.
Yeah. You
do more than 2, you'll start to get less points. Right. It's the weirdest thing. It doesn't make sense.
That is weird.
And the quickest, easiest way to an 8-point ride or to a score these days is 2 backhand re-entries on a closeout. And it will more often than not score 7 points and above for 2 backhand re-entries that Damien Hardman and 𝗬𝐸𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐿𝐴 did 20 years ago. And that is to me, as a coach, that's what I go, hey, go out, find the close.
I added a 1/16 of an inch of rocker in the tail, which sounds like nothing, but a 1/16 of an inch makes a huge difference when it's spread over like a 24-inch area in the tail. And I don't know, it just feels better in between the turns when when you roll your ankles in those little setup check turns and that sort of thing. There's more confidence, and there's another gear. So like you'd said, that down off the bottom spring is nuts. I think the harder thing to get used to is that mid-face turn. I feel like that the little side bites let you turn mid-face with ease and confidence, and there's nothing weird about it. I'm riding bigger keel fins, so when you're in that mid-face turn and coming back down and arcing toward the whitewater, if you're not on your games, it feels a little, I don't want to say tracky, but I just don't have the confidence. I don't know how to totally articulate it. Yeah. But the trade-off is the speed. So it's like, you got to ask yourself, do I want the speed, or do I want to be able to do that just crazy turn in mid-face? And I'm leaning more nowadays toward the speed. I'll take the speed. Yeah. Because when you have speed, you can kind of overcome any weird adjustments that you need to get used to. And I think with those twin fins, maybe you can't ride as far forward. The 2+1 has a wider sweet spot. Yeah. You can kind of screw up, I think, a lot more and recover without having to roll the windows up.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So I'd love for you to try that. I think
yeah, I want to try it. I'm curious about your fins, and I want to get back to that. But I think I do agree with you that for, I'd rather have the speed. I do think that around 3/4 of the way through the roundhouse cutback, you have to be exact in your feet positioning. And frankly, in the thickness of the board, you have to carry the buried rail, and it won't take much for that thing to pop up and you to be screwed. Whereas a 2+1 gives you so much more room for screw up, and for me, the twin fin, it's like, okay, go to the bottom and then go up to the top and keep doing that. Whereas the 2+1 allows me to I can just kind of move the board around anywhere on the face with confidence, with the ability to go, yeah, you know what? I might not have the speed, but I know that there's a lot more versatility in where I do the turn.
Yeah. And I think the average guy likes that, just having that as an option. And, but I do think there's going to be an average guy who's like, I'm not doing much anyways. I'm just kind of pointing and shooting for 9 o'clock. Just give me the speed, you know? So it's good to have that breakdown. So it's like, where are you at? What do you want to do? You want those options to just break the line or go up the face in a different part of the wave easier. But if you're never going to do that, maybe just go with the twin and just go for afterburners.
But there is an island that you can swim or paddle to, which there is a left-hander there they call 𝗏𝗏. And
I think I've surfed there.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So we start there, and we actually were renting a canoe with an engine. They call robbing here in Indonesia. And that's why we used to explore all the islands and all the breaks around Telo.
Like a local boat?
Canoe. It's a canoe.
Smaller than a local boat.
It's a canoe with an outrigger and a little engine on it. So we're taking too long, and it was too expensive to do the search on the North Telos on it. So what we do, we went to the island where all those resorts is being building nowadays. So you have probably six or more resorts in North Telos. So you have Latitude Zero, Telo Lodge, Telo 101, all those places. We went to the island, we stay on the island up to a month to see the potential, So we rented a local check of a local fisherman and stayed there up to a month. There was nothing there, nothing. No one little resort. And then we look in the map, we see here in the south where we are now, we see the horseshoe. Said, man, how about that? It's facing south. How to get there? So we get information in Telo. We stay up months in Telo.
Did you look at this region on the map and say to yourself, it's positioned exactly like Lugandri Bay?
Yeah,
Did you think like that?
No, we didn't. But we knew that we were facing south, this area. Yeah. And there is a horseshoes, which potentially is a surf spot. I was not comparing with Nias. I never been to Nias because I know how crowded it is. Yeah. But people that went there, they said that Nias on the 60s or early 70s is pretty much the same shape, same geography. So we found how to get to there. And the guy said, look, you have to wait for a local boat to bring the copra. Copra is the coconut, That's the income in anywhere in Indonesia. They climb the coconut tree. They get the oldest coconut. There is a big, thick meat. They throw the water away. It's not good to eat, but it's a thick meat which they take from the shell, pre-cook, put on a bag of rice, fill it up, and they pre-cook, fill it up with the pieces on a bag of rice, put on a boat, goes to Telo, and sell there by kilo. In Telo, they get the copra, this coconut, and they put on a bigger ship, and then they bring it to Malaysia, to Singapore, and they process the meat, coconut meat, and they make kerosene or coconut oil, whatever, and they sell back to Indonesia. Yeah. So we are waiting one of the local boats from here, where we are sitting now, to go to Telo. Maybe 3 weeks later, there is a local guy said, "Oh, there is a boat just arrived." So we went there. "Oh, you from?" Okay, I'm gonna say the name. Duro is the name here. "Are you from Duro?" "Yeah." "Are you going back in a couple of days? Can we get a ride with you?" "Yeah, you gotta pay." "Yeah, sure, we pay." We pay the guy. Took probably 12 hours. Pay here. But when we here, Scott, you guys cannot see because but Scott can see. He sees a bay here, right?
Yeah, we're looking at the bay.
Yeah, so
beautiful blue bay with.
Yeah, so it's a bay. We are on the tip of the bay. Yeah, this side where there is wave. The other side, which can look straight ahead, and there on the bottom you see nowadays have an antenna from the cell phone. That's a single longo. That's where we arrived.
So there's a little town that Paul is pointing to that is where they arrived when they first visited here the first time. Duro.
Yeah. Okay, so the other side, the next day we walk to the point there, right? So imagine, you guys might be listening, imagine a U, a letter U. Look to the left is one point, look to the right is where the waves are. And so you are on the left side of the U point, and we walked to the point and we saw the wave.
So you were on the other side of the bay and you saw the waves here that we're looking at in front of your surfing village.
Exactly. So this time now we walk.
And the waves were good. You were excited, right?
No, we saw there was a wave. We couldn't see how good it is because you see from sideways, right?
And you have boards with you? What do you?
Yeah. We have boards with us. So now we walk inside this side of the bay all the way to now inside the bay, from inside the bay, not outside the bay. We arrive outside.
Now you're way in there where there's no real waves breaking, where it's calm water,
yes.
and you can get across to this side, right?
Yeah. So you went all the way, and I would say from here from this side where we are to the other point, I would say, I don't know how you guys measure, but we say kilometer.
I don't know. Is this the wildest East Coast surfer ever? And or maybe I'm mischaracterizing. Help me out here. 𝗦𝘂𝗍𝒂𝗰. I don't know much about 𝗦𝘂𝗍𝒂𝗰, but I sense that this guy was a wild man. That this guy was probably part Pope, part I don't know, crazy man.
He was a carny.
Yeah, there you go.
No, 𝗦𝘂𝗍𝒃 was the godfather of East Coast surfing. He created a reputation for himself and carried along the East Coast with charging big waves with Greg Knoll and those guys back in the early 60s. He was it, and he brought that energy and knowledge and those relationships to the East Coast and started the Surfboards Hawaii team, and then that morphed into the Hobie team, and they were the force to be reckoned with up and down the East Coast. They traveled extensively and won everywhere they went. Every now and again they get beat, and 𝗂𝗏𝗃 was a terrible loser. He didn't like to be beaten at all, and but he was.
How did that manifest itself? What would he do to?
He would go up and rant at the judges. He would try, if he was running an event, he would change the rules. He was notorious for.
He ran events and surfed as a competitor in the events he ran?
Or more often, well, he was older than everybody. So if there was a division for his age group, he would surf. But more often it was his guys. And if they got beat in a heat, then he would go and raise all holy hell about it. If he was running the event and somehow it necessitated a rule change, he would do that. He was a character of characters. But the energy put into events and creating a forward momentum for competitive surfing, and then on a pro level, he was always the guy. Yeah, he had a very colorful presence within the whole surfing world, from surfboard manufacture to surfing events to media coverage. He was
in the thick of it all the
Yeah.
time.
He strikes me as sort of a larger than life character.